Zoos, a controversial topic. One of the reasons zoos are beneficial to have is they allow the public to learn about creatures that would normally be outside viewing ability. Almost any zoo you go to has lots of information for guests to read about animals in the exhibits. Zoos are made for educational purposes and allow people to safely observe and research animals that walk amongst humans on Earth. Stated by Dr. Rose, we need places of conservation such as zoos to provide us with the educational understanding about the natural world and for us to be educated. The aim of the zoos need to incorporate increasing meaningful engagement with society and local communities. Dr. Rose said this statement in the article Girl Scientist, page 1. These zoos are only made to help people learn and keep the animals safe, and in the world that they may no longer be safe for them. However, on the contrary, there are also many reasons why zoos are a bad thing. One of these reasons is zoos are not all sunshine and rainbows, as there are many downsides to zoos. One example being that zoos do not replicate natural habitat of an animal. Being in a cage, no matter how long or how large, is incredibly stressful on an animal that needs to roam, especially large animals such as elephants, polar bears, and large species of aquatic descent. Alexander Laybourne explains it like this: animals need physical stimulation and a level of interaction with nature that we as humans could not understand, let alone interpret the recreate. And animals need space to roam, space to hunt, and space to hide. A zoo just is unable to replicate the simulation of exploration that nature provides to these animals. A habitat in a zoo far from ideal, and animals taken from the wild just to be observed by slamming themselves against walls trying to injure themselves. Zoos are not a good place for animals. However, on the contrary, zoos are actually beneficial to have, is that they have the ability to train future generations of zoologists and conservation researchers. Zoos allow for people to see how animals behave and can be used as a tool in training others. A zoo has the ability to allow you to get hands-on with an animal they normally would not be able to study in their natural habitat, along with helping us to develop aid and monitor the health of the animals on a moment's notice. For example, under the guidelines of top zoo professionals, students gain hands-on experience caring for species and study zoological science. Thus, zoos foster talent that will shape the future of global wildlife conservation. That was a quote from Ramaz. The ability to keep these animals allows us to protect them and understand what animals are capable of and how we can further help them to live. Zoos are a good thing and they benefit animals, but not only the animals, but the humans around them. Finally, one reason zoos may not be beneficial is, as taught in the constant exposure of animals with humans. In the wild, the lion example would most likely never encounter a human a single time. However, in a zoo, there are people constantly banging on glass and staring at animals. This can induce severe stress into the animal, which can have a negative effects not only physically but mentally on the animals. As stated by Fisher, however, captivity may not be a long-term or permanent impact of physiological if the stress response chronically activated. We reviewed literature on effects of introduction to captivity and wild-caught individuals on the physiological systems impacted by stress, particularly weight changes, GC regulation, abnormality regulation, and the immune and reproductive systems. As a quote by Fisher: wild animals are not meant to be kept around humans, and by doing so, we are drastically diminishing the lives of these animals. The stress of being seen and stared at by hundreds of unknown creatures really does have a negative effect on these animals, and that is unfortunate enough to end up in these zoos.